Today's morning medicine is Arum, maculatum, and under Arum triphyllum, uh, it says Arum triphyllum is the most important of the Arums, but Arum maculatum, italicum, dracontium have the same action as the triphyllum. So they're all in the same Arum family. They all contain an irritant poison causing inflammation of mucous surfaces and destruction of tissues. I'm running. Okay, good. Sometimes that thing screws up and doesn't run. All right, let's just get into it. Arum maculatum, the cuckoo plant. The cuckoo bird, the cuckoo plant. Inflammation, ulceration, mucous membranes, nose, eyes, all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of ulceration and inflammation and probably some burning in that. I don't know. Anyways, nasal polyps. So that's the nose stuff. Bleeding with great physical depression and lassitude. So bleeding from the nose, bleeding from, I think it's bleeding from the mucus coughing it up. No, I think it's mainly from the nose. Where the heck did I read that? Anyways, so the person's depressed. Their lassitude means they're not, function. They could care less. Impressible inclination to sleep. They always want to sleep. That's that depression, lassitude, stuff going on. The bleeding, it's got to be the nose. I don't thought there's a cough, bleeding from the cough. Mouth burning, stinging, mouth burning and stinging. The lips too. The lips and the mouth are burning and stinging. And this was italicized, so I underlined it as a 3. As with 100 needles, so it feels like there's 100 needles being stabbed into whatever part, the mouth and the lips, basically. But it could be other parts that have that. That's the indication of the pain that they would have, like 100 needles. Abdomen, sensation of emptiness after breakfast. So they eat and they feel empty again. Severe aching between navel and hip. Standing, lying on affected side, or deep inspiration. So anytime they have a deep inspiration, they get that pain in the hip, around the navel, and they can't lie on the side that the hip's having a problem, and it's worse standing. Vomiting and contraction as from anxiety and fear. So sounds like there's a lot of, this anxiety and fear is causing this person to have abdominal issues. And as I think I read it anyways, it said that it goes from the abdomen. Where the heck would it be? It ain't on here, I don't think. I should have put more in here. Maybe I'll read some of it, but it starts in the abdomen, the belly, the stomach down there, goes up into the chest, and then goes into the throat and the nose. So a lot of, and that's where that anxiety and fear can cause things like that guy was having this anxiety. He got cancer in his ear once again. Anxiety from somebody trying to take his stuff, and that, his stomach was the main issue. That was the chief complaint, was the stomach. But even though he had cancer of the ear, so when you went after that anxiety and fear with the medicine for that, it cleared up those ear symptoms after a few months. Oppression. Oh, here it is. Oppression ascends from abdomen. It did say up through the chest into the throat. So I cut it short, I guess. But yeah, that's why I say that anxiety and fear causing them having stomach issues. And they, I wonder, it doesn't say a headache, because you can get a gastric headache from all this stuff. So you got to figure out what is going on. Where is this coming from? Why do they have this throat stuff? Oh, it starts down in the stomach and it works its way up to the chest and into the throat. And like it says, if they take a deep inspiration, it affects it. Anyways, female, not very much else on this medicine. It's either not proven enough, or it basically, this is all the symptoms they got because they didn't have enough people. Menses are profuse. So when they get menses, boy, it really comes on. But it doesn't say there's a suppression, or it's late, or it's early, or whatever, but it's just profuse. They got a lot of bleeding when they have their menses. Kidneys, clear watery urine, exhaling a smell of, I don't know what burnhorn is. Deposits are cloudy with sediment. They got some kind, it doesn't say red sediment or brown sediment, but it just says cloudy with sediment, and it's got a smell to it. Anyways, nothing, limb, liver, lungs, phlegm in respiratory organs, violent, tight cough with scanty expectoration, so there's not a lot coming up. So they got that mucus down in there, the phlegm in the in the lungs, basically, and they got a violent, tight cough with not a lot of stuff coming out. Oh, here it is. The bloody expectoration after a cough, and it's streaked with yellow. So yellow is usually a few other medicines, Calibic, Calc Sulf, different things like that. But that bloody expectoration reminds me of a tuberculosis. Anybody that has tuberculosis with a cough and blood's coming out, that you think of, you could have tuberculinum, could be one, but yeah, that bloody expectoration would lead you down a different path. And with the yellow streaks, gums bleed readily. That sounds like a mercury problem. A few other ones can have that. Tongue is so swollen he cannot swallow. I don't remember that in a lot of them. Okay, so let's see. The throat, pain with difficult deglution, which is swallowing, as from constriction of esophagus with constant desire to swallow. That's a big one there. Constant desire to swallow. Anyways, after drinking, so they drink something and they got to continually swallow after that. Obstinate hoarseness, so that hoarseness doesn't go away. It just keeps coming and staying around. Pressure in the larynx and tickling with inclination to cough. I think that pretty much covers it. A lot of mucous membrane stuff, all these have that. And like it said, trifilium is the big one, and that's tomorrow, Friday. There's a nice, this one's been proven real nice. This one, and anyways, and that's Jack in the Pulpit. This one's the cuckoo pint. Cuckoo pint should be plant, I would imagine. Anyways, the leading symptoms of Arum maculatum are as follows: inflammation and ulceration of mucous membranes, violent irritation of nose, eyes, pain on the left side of nose, nasal polyps, bleeding from mucous membranes and cavities in the nose and that. So they got bleeding going on up there. Violent convulsions, great physical depression and lassitude. A response. Okay, tongue is swollen, and this is it ascending from abdomen to chest. On oppression, whole chest with hot breath. It then rose into the throat. So it starts in the abdomen, up into the chest. It says they got hot breath, and then it, eventually ends up in the throat. Now this could be colds, flus, whatever's going on. Burning, constricting pain, so a lot of burning with it. Inflammation, ulceration of mucous membrane. So that is Arum. But I only got 8 minutes. Well, that's weird. Well, gives me a minute to talk about this, which is, this is a very important subject here. And I went through all the Arums except for trifilium, which is the last one, which has been proven. It's got a lot of information. It'll fill in all these blanks. And like it said, these medicines are comparable. They all have similar stuff going on, but each one has a different thing. I don't know, tomorrow I'll figure out if the bloody expectoration, the tongue, this different stuff, the depression and all that stuff is part of this, Let's see. Okay, Repertory or Materia Medica. So this is very important, because these are the two books that you will utilize, especially if you come in my community and you want to go deeper and learn how to use these for your family to basically cure them of whatever's going on. And I use these regularly. I use these constantly. The Homeopathic Repertory. And what's it got in it? Okay, you go under feet. It has the nails of the feet. What else? Let's go over this way. Numbness of the feet. Numbness. They got, I bet you, neuralgia. Neuralgia should be here somewhere, because they basically are talking a lot on the internet about these neuralgias, these pains in the feet, and how to take care of them. And I don't doubt LMNOP, nope, doesn't have neuralgia under the feet. But if I went to nerves and neuralgia, so anyways, that's the way this works. You go to, I'd probably go to nerves or nerves. I'm pretty sure there's a section on nerves. Nose, nerves. Yeah, there's one on nerves. So if I went under nerves now, I have, what is that? Multiple, what does it say? I can't make it out. Neuritis. There's neuritis. Okay. Neuritis. And it doesn't have to be in the feet or here or there, but it's just like here. It says like as 100 needles going into the thing. So let's see what's under. Aconite is under neuritis. Now that has to do with a lot of fear and stuff, which this is talking about. Coffea, hypericum. Definitely always hypericum for nerves. That could clear a lot of it up. Belladonna and phosphorus under neuritis. Now, okay, so before I look this stuff up, before I go to this one, and then once I get in there and I look under them nerves and I get a medicine like, say, aconite, then you go to the, where is aconite? You know, as you see, we'll go through all these medicines. Aconite would be the first one, and you would basically want to make sure you took a good case and you're looking to see, you know, you have things ready to go before you get into these books, because you'll get lost. And then you go to the Materia Medica, and the Materia Medica has, like I said, aconite, napellus. There's aconite, and it goes through the eyes, the ears, the nose, the face, the female, all kinds of stuff, you know. So, and then it got comments at the end. It's got a big long list of comments, and them comments are usually the physicians or the homeopaths of that day, whether it's 1900s or the 1950s, wherever it is, that it'll tell you more about the medicine, but it'll get into some cases, and that's always a real good one to hear how someone handled a case. And a lot of times in here in this Materia Medica, I read the cases and they say, you know, they tried 3 or 4 medicines for a certain thing, and then it ends up like this. They might have tried Arum trifolium, which is tomorrow's medicine, and it doesn't do it. So then you try Arum maculatum, and that's the one that does it. So little medicine sometimes can be the difference. But the way what you want to have before you get into the repertory is you can look now. Right away, you can look at differentials and decide. So how does that work? I think on Facebook, my friend that lives near me said, yeah, my son's knee is injured and it ain't getting better. And we took him to the doctor again and nothing's happening. And so I texted in there. I said, hey, why don't you check out some homeopathy? I could, you know, I can lead you probably to a medicine that might take care of that. And she was open. So, you know, basically I said, can I talk to him? So I talked to the guy, the kid, and I said, you know, differential. Is it better by motion, worse by motion? So I had to say, okay, if you're laying there, is it start aching and that, and then you get up and you move around and it starts feeling better? That's Russ Talks. Or is it you're moving around, and it gets, oh man, it starts killing you and you got to lay down and rest? That's bryonia. So that's what I'm talking about, differentials. Some of them they like hot drinks, they like cold drinks. They like sweets, they like sours. You know, there's a lot of differentials that, you know, if you have them in your head like that, you can basically right away just, you know, you don't even have to take a full case a lot of times for an acute, basically. You can look at differentials and decide right there and give them a medicine, or tell them what medicine they need. So that's, you know, if you're dealing with your family and they have a problem, a knee problem, like I said, that kid he has a knee problem, and you ask your kid, I mean, you can ask him right then, better by motion, worse by motion, you know, what makes it feel better? And you can decide right there and give a medicine. Otherwise, you have to understand the context of the case. So what's the context of the case? So someone comes in with depression, and we'll use the knee again. Someone comes in with depression and they're, you know, I'm just so depressed, you know, this and that. What's going on? You know, well, I I hurt my knee a little while ago, and I really can't get around. I can't do all the things I used to do. So I'm so upset about that. I can't get better. My knee just keeps giving away on me. It's not doing any good. And so you could go in and do, you can go to your repertory right away and do the depression and that. But now that you know there's a knee injury, that would most likely be the first thing to go to. I remember talking, they were doing a case from the people in UK. They were talking about it. And this lady, they said her hemorrhoids smell like rotten meat. And right away, I just said, give her Pyrogen. While you're doing the case, give her Pyrogen. Give the lady relief from them things. That may clear up a lot of stuff. You never know. So that is such a big keynote of Pyrogen because it's made from rotten meat. Give her Pyrogen. So now you have to understand the context of the case where, another lady said, my husband has hemorrhoids and then he can't, and they just pop out once in a while. And I looked up a few things and I said, try Aescalus. That's just off the top of my head. But if you're going to take a case, you got to say, well, okay, what brings them out? When did this? And she said, nothing. They just come out every once in a while. So it's not lifting, usually people that lift or they strain at a stool or, whatever. So then you got to understand the case, when did this start? So now you're going back and you're figuring out, was there a situation that happened, a stressor, like a grief, an anxiety, injury, something like that? Is there anything like that happened and then this started? So you take them back through and find out. So you're finding out the context of the case. He did one on PMS. The lady come in, she's like, I got bad back pains, man. I get back pains. And then she gets back pains every time. And when he went back to her childhood, when she was going to first start having the period, she had some kind of stressor, like family problems or something. They broke up, the parents broke up, or I don't know what happened right now, but she had some kind of stressor there at the time of puberty. Now she's having menstrual stuff. So he took, back pain, he went right for PMS. He said PMS is the chief complaint of this case. Whether the back pain's during the menses, before the menses, after the menses, this PMS, and it's set up by the etiology or the layer that was set down, the incident that happened when she was just going to get into puberty. So that's, that's how you got to look at it. You got to see that whole case and choose what's the chief complaint, number one. And you got to, have that picture there. That's why I said write a paragraph. So now when you're looking at that case or when you're managing it, someone's coming back saying, this ain't working or this is working this much, then you can look back and say, did I miss something? Now you have a picture, and that's the whole idea. Everybody is a picture. You're trying to build a portrait of this person's life. Each layer, because then once you have that portrait, each layer, once you peel off, like I told that lady, she didn't want to do anything more. She had a lot of stress in her life, and now she just didn't feel like taking care of things anymore. She was just fed up, had to really psych herself up to even go food shopping or anything. So had to go back to where it started in that. Now, once they peel that layer off, she may have another layer, and there could be a couple layers in between, like a flu, or you could see flu symptoms come out all of a sudden once you peel that layer off. Then you do the flu symptoms. Now you get back to when she had a breakup, which I would imagine with her husband or boyfriend, whatever. That breakup was a trauma. That was an etiology that put tear in her vital force right there, set down a layer. Now, once you get back to that point, she might have a depression. She might have, who knows what she'll have come out. Something will come out because of that. Now you see her into another layer, and then you work through that layer until you get to the constitutional health. She might have things as teenager, teenage stuff going on. So who knows? You're going back, you're trying to understand the whole case, and then once you get the context and the whole case understood, now you can go, as you peel off a layer, oh yeah, I expected this layer because that was the next thing in your history, your timeline of your life that happened to you, and that set down another layer. So Yeah, the context is very important. Otherwise, you get off on tangents. Instead of Robin going for PMS, he might have went for backache, and been all that'll send you down a whole lot, bunch of different medicines. Understand the symptoms, the important ones, and the keynotes. So keynotes are, like I just said, Russ talks, better by motion, uh, bryonia, worse by motion, belladonna, flushed face, pupils dilated, high fever. There's a lot of different keynotes that these medicines have. And the important symptoms, you'll get a bunch of symptoms. Some of them, that's why you use like a 1 line underline, a 2 underline, a 3 underline, or you can just use the numerals 1, 2, and 3. Beside the things, just like this one here, as with 100 needles, that's 3. So any pain that they have, it's stinging, burning in the lips and that could be like 100 needles up there in the lips. If they had a pain somewhere else and it was like 100 needles, you would consider Arum maculatum. Anyways, so the symptoms is where, once you get that symptom, then you look back, when did this symptom start? You come to the etiology or the incident, the problem that happened that set up this etiology word. And it may not show right away. It may come later in life. So you're trying to see what's important, use the keynotes, and you got to know what to cure. So if you're trying to cure a depression and you got a knee pain, that is what the depression's about. Or if you got a headache and you're saying, it's a throbbing headache, is it, what is setting this up? So, if you find out that it's when they eat or they're anxious and nervous and fearful like this here, they have a lot of, where the heck was it? Fear, anxiety and fear. That always sets up in the abdomen. And if you see that there's anxiety and fear or something going on in their life and they've got an upset stomach and it gives them a headache, now you got a gastric headache. Now you're getting the context, you're seeing what the cure and what is the important symptoms. Is it the stomach? Is it the headache? You clear up the stomach, the headache goes away, doesn't come back. You take care of that fear and that. And that could just be, that could be any medicine. That could be Arum maculatum. That could be agnatia from a grief. That could be arnica from an injury. That could be, now you got this fear and this anxiety going on because of it. So the important symptoms, I don't know why I put that down. What I want to say, the important symptoms, the center of the case. I want to say the chief complaint right here, rather than important, because the chief complaint is the important symptoms. From that chief complaint, the guy with the cancer in the ear, his chief complaint was his stomach. He said, "What's the worst? What would you want to get rid of? If anything, I can get rid of my stomach." Really, I thought it'd be the cancer of the ear. So that stomach stuff was causing him to have anxiety and fear, just like this maculatum, and it, caused physical symptoms, which was cancer of the ear. Okay, you want to know the etiologies and layers. So what is an etiology? It's a something that happened, whether it's a grief. Like me, I had poison ivy for I don't know how many years, really bad, and it wasn't taken care of right. It was scratched open with a brush, Clorox thrown on it. It dried it up, but oh my, that was a rough time. But so that's what you call an etiology. Right at that time of my life, I had that going on. Now, that sets up to have other issues later, like rheumatism or asthma or something, because any skin stuff usually will go inward. It can go to any organ, but a lot of times it goes to the lungs or the asthma stuff, or it goes to the joints, but it can go to an organ, a kidney, a spleen, or whatever. And then the layer, that's when that etiology is set up, when that injury happens. He called it a tear in your vital force or your immunity, whatever you want to call it, your prana, your chi. You got a tear, now you got an energy leak. And in that energy leak, whether it's fear and anxiety in your abdomen, there's an energy leak there. There's pain in your shoulder, there's an energy leak there. There's a knee pain, there's an energy leak there. You got depression, you got an energy leak. So the idea is when that etiology, whether it's an injury, a car accident, that sets up a layer. an etiology happened, which was a car accident. If it's not taken care of properly, now there's a layer set up. Now, if you give arnica after that and then see what else is going on with them, you know, it might be a knee injury, might be a chest injury, it might be, you know, you don't know what it is, head injury. You start out with arnica for the trauma and the injury and all that stuff, and you might end up going to another medicine, you know, to finish it off, you know. But that's where that layer, that etiology sets up that layer, and you'll have one each time in your life. I had poison ivy as a child, really bad for a few years. I had surgery on my ear. Then I needed a, you know, for a cyst or whatever it was in high school. Before that, I think I had a tube put in, my eustachian tube. And then I had, you know, so each one of them sets up another layer, you know. And I was considering, yesterday, I took Apis over with the bee lady. I was working with her, Christina. And she said, I can't get Apis nowhere. I just get it online. I said, you can, yeah. You know, so I took some of mine and I said, you know, I asked her, we're standing, I said, I brought some Apis, and I said, you got some alcohol? And she looked at me strange, like, well, you want to start drinking or something? I said, no, I don't drink. I want to, you know, I can take a bottle of water, put some Apis in there. You can put the alcohol in there so the water don't go bad. Now you got Apis for as long as you need it. So anyways, she looked at me real funny, and I thought that was funny. I should have said, do you have alcohol to put in there to make a medicine for you? So she didn't take it for whatever reason, but I was considering, you know, she's worried, you know, she gets stung a lot, and she gets, you know, the poison in there, the bee poison, which is Apis. She gets that in her a lot, and she wants to take Apis for that, but the other end of that is ledum. Ledum is for any bug bites, animal bites, insect bites, any kind of puncture wounds, things like that. Hypericum could be for, you know, anyways. Yeah, so, you know, you might want to take ledum for all the stings. She gets stung a bunch of times. Me, yesterday, I feel like I got to sneeze. Yesterday, I was right in the middle of all them bees. They're flying all around me. I'm scraping and doing what I'm doing, and I didn't get stung once, you know. And I said, nah, I haven't gotten stung. I said, I talked to them. I tell them, listen, ladies, I'm doing this for you. Everybody take it easy. Don't bite me. Everything's going to be fine. And they just love that when you scrape that up, and they're just in there eating it and digging it and taking it back to the hive. But yeah, so, you know, before you get into those two books, you start with the Repertory, which has all the body parts. You know, it has legs. There's legs and whatever's going wrong with the legs, tearing, tension, you know, tingling in the legs. So you go to that, and then once you get a couple medicines, you know, you get the first, like legs, pain, and then you want to say, I don't know, better by rubbing, you know. You want to get down, you want to drill down as much as you can so you don't have to look up so many medicines. Then you go to the Materia Medica, and you look up the medicine. There's diphtherinum, tetanus, pertussis, tetanus. Huh, interesting. I just opened to that. But then they got the mind, the clinical, where am I going? Skin, sleep, what it's compared to, the relationships, and at the end they got some more. Did I have? Nope, they don't have no comments on this one. But diphtheria is diphtheria nosode, so it's made out of the bug that when you drink bad water, it's made out of that bug. So the diphtheria pertussis, the DPT vaccine, they made a medicine out of that. And they made a medicine out of a lot of these vaccines if anybody's having troubles with them. But I can show you, that's why I'm building that community. It's free right now. You come in, I build the community. People can come and ask questions. They can start learning how to use these books. You come to a situation with your family, you know, I'll help you through it, of course, but, you know, you can basically start learning how to take care of your family's ailments, injuries, and then mental and emotional symptoms, you know, utilizing homeopathic medicine. Of course, you know, you can order the stuff. It's nice to order a kit and have a kit handy, you know, just especially for emergencies. But yeah, so that's why I'm building that community. I want to be able to help people to understand this. I never realized how many people do not even have a clue even in the health industry, a lot of them don't really understand how homeopathic medicine works, and that's why I want to get it into everybody's hands, because it's, it's the medicine of the people. You don't have to be an educated doctor or anything to be able to utilize this and help your family. Now, you do need the doctors for all kinds of things, but this can help you to get through a lot of situations. So, all right, tomorrow's trifilium. That's going to be the only. That medicine's been proven a lot, or proven, so it's got a lot of information. That's the only thing I'm going to do tomorrow, and that finishes up the Arums, Trillium, Italicum, Draconium. I don't know. There's like 4 of them. Now, these different plants from different areas may have different qualities, whatever. They would have a few little things different than trifilium, which has been really proven. So, all right, that's morning medicine. You can age, but you don't have to get old.